Kari has been absolutely, stone on the top side.
Literally just the same man.
It is pretty much exactly the same, but we are back for potentially the final game of this series. Very quick evening for us gentlemen, as Nord 1 win away from finals, 1 win away from EMEA Masters, and Verdant need to get the reverse sweep to make it work. Similar sets of bans that Xayah being removed from Hero, not something that the Nord AD carry is going to be able to rely on.
Maokai and Rel are both up, and the Rel is what Nord have decided are the biggest one for the trade, and now Verdant, from one long break to potentially another, if they don't pull something out here, they're looking to take the Kai'Sa away from Hiddo. They've already gotten the Rakan down, and this would generally mean for Hiddo a Zeri pick, but that is not going to be best here because you have the Kai'Sa to match it, and you have the Maokai point and click. Let's see what he does. Ashe is the other champion he's brought out, but that has been much more middling than any of his other champions so far.
Definitely subject to variability, the success rate on that Ashe. I do value its early game, we'll say, pressure that you can put out with the extra range versus a Kai'Sa specifically. Later on, obviously, a lot more difficult. Very prone to getting caught out.
Oh no!
It's still available. It's still available. I think we could be saying oh no to either of these picks because Omen was ridiculous on the Azir in this series versus Ruddy, and Seneca, if Rakan is ever available, he's just going to lock it in. He is ridiculous on this pick.
Yep, the Rel is going towards indecision. That means a lot of aggression coming out of jungle early, and Seneca on that Rakan, I was going to say everywhere, has been mid lane over and over and over again and winning every skirmish no matter what position he's in at the start of that fight. But I do wonder now, is the play not just move Kai'Sa towards mid lane, play a Maokai Kai'Sa matchup into the Rel Azir, and potentially play with that advantage, especially once you hit level 6? That can be a pretty good matchup for the Kai'Sa, and the build path is going to really make it difficult for you to itemize into those two. So that sounds good to me. They are banning the Ashe. I wonder if they'll ban the Zeri, because you do like Kai'Sa into Zeri, even if you put the Zeri, the Kai'Sa into mid. You can put the Kai'Sa into mid, and you can put something bot lane. God, I don't want to say it, but like you can put something bot lane like
something cursed.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at melee tank jungle that wants to dive. I am looking at Rakan. You could, if they go Zeri, I'd be thinking about this insta slamming Vayne as fast as humanly possible. And then the only thing that you'd potentially lack there would be wave clip. You can make up for that on
static shifts,
or with the static shift that you now get on mid lane Kai'Sas. So I do see that potential opportunity. There is a Draven opportunity where you would then be playing around bot lane. You have a lot of options here to completely shut down, and they do think it's not worth, because they might end up in a double AD carry position as well, so they've banned the Malphite. So I do think Verdant are on board with that whole particular ploy. It could just be something like a Draven bot with a Nautilus and Kai'Sa into mid, and you have really good lanes.
Okay. Now, the thing for Verdant is they have to reveal that flex. It's either going to be Kai'Sa mid or bot at the end of this pick, or they're sacrificing top lane R5. Those are the two options here. We would...
For sure, top. Yeah.
You want to see them take blind top? Okay, that's also...
For sure. Counter pick bot lane, counter pick mid, and go something top lane Nilla can be somewhat safe on. Like the Ornn. Like, this is how I would do this draft at that point. You had such
with Nilla on the team.
Yes, you have such a good opportunity here to just like, last time, they messed up. Okay, they've messed up the draft every time at the same point, which is when they pick their mid bot lane, and they just start counter-picking themselves. This time, they have these... Okay, if they lock in Draven here, you go Kai'Sa mid, and you slam something really long range in towards that Draven. That's what you have to do. Okay, if they manage to mess up this draft...
Gooby Vayne.
I will be... no, but okay, but if they lock it... Okay, but if they lock this in, this is actually a Vayne pick, by the way. This is the biggest Vayne...
Any tank and it's Gooby Vayne.
This is the biggest Vayne pick of all time. Dude, oh my god, man.
Kachkos is a tank guy. He does like to play a lot of tanks. We'll just say the Kennen is still available if he wants to go for that, potentially. And he has just locked a Cho'Gath?
Twitch is really good. Twitch is really good.
Okay, whoa. Okay.
Twitch is really good here.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of weird picks here. Cho'Gath, I want someone to explain that to me.
Good.
Twitch, I want someone to explain that to me. Okay, veteran, you seem on board with the Cho'Gath.
Okay, well, I mean, Cho'Gath into Ornn Maokai setups and into, from their perspective, a super low range team, right? With the Kai'Sa, Nautilus, Maokai. Like, this is a very good pick because they have to all go into, they're all in full form with your silence. It's really easy for you to get multiple knockups on towards them here. It's really easy for you to disrupt the Ornn as well in the middle of fights. It's a really nice pick for him, and if he's anticipating a possible Vayne, the silence from that is still going to be useful as well. The reason the Twitch is so good, though, okay, anything that counters Ezreal, right, counters Zeri. They both have the exact same things that you need to work around, right? And Twitch here is a very strong Ezreal counter because Twitch can match Ezreal when he hop skips, jumps away with his range on his R. You can't get away from the Twitch damage, so you just unload on him. Same thing with Zeri. Zeri jumps over that wall, the autos are following her, right? It's over, the poison's following her, the big R autos are following, it's doomed. And into the Azir, right? Same thing. This guy wants to use his terrain to disengage. That doesn't matter. Into the Twitch. The Twitch is still hitting him from 50 million years away. Twitch is a very good pick into both of those. For once, they have good matchup mid, good matchup bot, good team fight overall. If you're not going to play around Nilla, at least now you're playing with good advantage in fights.
And the thing is as well, when you lock in this Twitch on the bot side so frequently, if you're playing this in solo queue or what have you, you just get slammed in lane. Zeri's not a slamming lane style of champion. You've got a good support matchup as well with the Nautilus into the Rakan. The stars really have aligned for Verdant on this bot side to make sure that Gooby can get to that first item, get to a point in the mid game where he can surprise people on a side lane. The thing with Twitch as well is that as you get into that mid game, as you get into that late game, you now have to play with so much value, or not so much value, so much respect on the side lanes. So if you don't see Twitch farming that mid wave, or if Twitch even has prio on a mid wave, every time he's pushed that out, you have to be careful on the sides as well.
For sure. Yeah, and that kind of pressure could make it difficult if your whole thing has been sack Hero and group everyone mid on repeat with Seneca, etc. Well, now if Twitch is off the map and hasn't shown up on bot lane yet, where is he? He could be here, he could be top, he could be in jungle. The paranoia is everywhere, no Nocturne this game, and yet still they've managed to get that passive rolling. The Twitch pick is so good, and you know, there's a really long-range champion here to follow up as well. So if you want to play Twitch to make picks later on side lanes, the Kai'Sa can be right there with him as well, with that semi-global. So really nice composition with Verdant. Well, there's one way to play it, but a really, really good way that Nord don't actually have the tools to get around.
And for Verdant, they're going to be able to, well, they're going to need to use every single ounce of that draft advantage because they are currently down 0-2 against Nord. On the verge of big upset in the NLC. Our first place team from the regular split falling down in a bitterly close best of 5 against Natives in the Juggernaut match. Down into the lower bracket. Thought that Nord maybe would be pushovers, but they have emphatically not been. And now they're the ones on the back foot. Verdant, they need to win to keep their finals hopes alive.
And to give some credit to Nord as well here, complete switch up from Spring and Summer. Had this all-star roster through Spring, didn't make it to EMEA Masters, blew up the roster and almost, not just almost, but did rebuild top lane veteran presence in Kachkos. They've taken Indecision and Oman, who have been instrumental in these first 2 games as players that have battered around the ERLs for a couple of years now, not quite been able to find true success just yet, and then picked up a wholly rookie bot lane in Hido and Seneca. Hido, fresh off of solo queue. This is his first competitive split of League ever, and he got a pentakill in the last game, carrying Nord through games 1 and 2. The rebuild from Nord and the development of this organization's talent line, very, very strong and very impressive as well.
Wendell and Gooby here with a bit of control over this lane in the early stages. Omen getting shoved in the mid lane. This is the power that the Kai'Sa can have. I know there were certain mid laners grabbing solo kills quite early on with this pick in years past the NLC.
Kai'Sa's the new doesn't count champion, right? Like, Cassante was a doesn't count champion. Pre-durability nerf Gnar was a doesn't count champion. Kai'Sa is the current doesn't count champion. If you have a really sick performance on Kai'Sa, it doesn't count, alright? Like, I'm not, yeah, like, okay. Well, yeah, but it's a Kai'Sa, I don't care. you know?
Doesn't count. Well, I mean, Omen's going to be very glad that Indecision has turned up to mid lane, because he was horribly losing out on that trade. Still has the flash and the teleport, so will be able to return to his lane should he need to. And with the amount of poke that he's already taken, it wouldn't surprise me if that's sooner rather than later.
And this is one of those games where, when you know that this matchup is so difficult, I might have liked to see Oman opt into something like a Hail of Blades just to try and combat that Kai'Sa a little bit earlier, so that those trades aren't as favourable. Obviously, if Oman can survive this early game, going to be more than happy to take Conqueror and start rattling out damage later on. Question is whether he can get through it, and for the time being, the answer has proven to be no, but he's still got that teleport, hasn't died yet, so it's not the worst case scenario for this Azir in the mid lane.
That would be such a sick bot lane name, like bot lane accounts. Like, you get one called sooner and one called later.
You went wrong.
Well, I mean, at the moment, the Zeri and the Rakan doing pretty well for themselves. I think Hino and Seneca probably have got like nice duo names for each other in solo queue, because they have been a very good bot lane. Kind of spent most of it apart though, with Seneca's propensity to roam into the mid lane, so maybe the relationship is potentially on the ropes, but if they keep winning games, I'm sure they're not going to mind at all. Wendell...
But that works, right? Like, Seneca is sooner, right? Seneca is sooner, and then Hido is later.
And at the end of the game, Hido gets a pentakill, Seneca just leans back. Ah, yeah, bot is support diff. All me.
No, he'll say, yeah, it was always sooner rather than later.
Wait, this is a pun. I've just realised that this is a pun. Oh my word.
You said sooner rather than later, right?
Well, I realised that that's
wait,
what you... I thought it was like
that's so
sooner
good.
is like... It sounds like a new champion name or something. It's like Sooner, the guy with, I don't know, hands are on fire and he has to fight people. At the moment, Indecision, Taxa are going to be fighting each other. Catchcost getting the shove in this lane, having a pretty good time in the matchup versus the Ornn.
Wendell moving towards midsection on this one as well, by the way, despite the fact that usually we're used to seeing Nord be out first on towards mid. It is Wendell who's getting first here, so Verdant, they're using that priority bot, they're managing to get these timings that Nord are used to. Nord definitely being thrown off of their game here.
Do you want to quickly highlight that Taxa went back to base, got himself that giant spell a little bit earlier than Indecision. Indecision spent a bit of time warding around that top side. Whee! Nice little dodge. But a little bit more vision given over to the Nord squad. They're going to not see Taxa on that top side, be able to intuit that he's down on that bot side of the map, and you can just see Oman holding up toward that top side of mid lane. Means it's a little more difficult for him to get caught by these Fog of Warhawks from a Maokai Flash W.
Interestingly enough, though, Hido seems to be having a fine time early on in this lane versus the Twitch. Obviously, once he gets level 6, access to the spray and play, it can become a heck of a lot more dangerous for Azeri when Seneca is constantly going for these rounds. But Indecision also making his way over to the bot side. Wendell, a little bit far forward, is going to get thrown into the air, completely whiffs on the hook, flashes away, but is going to be giving over first blood to Hido. That's not what you want to see if you're a Verdant fan.
Great lockdown between the Rakan and the Rel. Honestly, Kubi just fortunate that he wasn't the one who got caught in amongst it. Indecision starts up the dragon, has got double pink wards down, so very real possibility Nord can take this one off the back of a gank as well. They're able to push in that bot wave. Hido not going to greed for a plate. The question is, does he sacrifice a bit of his recall timer here to go and do the Drake with his team? He does, so a little bit selfless here from Hido, but it secures the first Drake, and Nord have been all over these neutral objectives this series. It makes absolute sense.
You definitely wanted to be in an advantage, though, with Twitch Nautilus in the early laning phase of the game. You do have good scaling options here, but you should have an advantage at every single point. You don't want to be giving up this first Infernal. That Infernal is going to pay huge dividends for Verdant later on, were they able to get it. But unfortunately, Wendell, he does get caught in lane. He does get taken down. That's life. And Nord, they're able to get the opening Infernal.
CS leads really building there for Hido. Naita has had the lion's share of the pressure in terms of the mid lane, but the game so far kind of hasn't really been about mid lane so much. Yes, we've had a couple of roams come over, particularly Wendell there missing the hook, trying to get on top of Omen as really enjoys playing a Cho'Gath and getting every single thing he wants to do cancelled. I think this is why you pick the pick. It's a counter into the Ornn because it can be so annoying and win out in this lane.
This is the foreshadowing, I suppose, for when Nilla actually presses R. The expectation is that we're going to see Catchcost look for those ruptures, look for those silencers to be able to prevent Nilla from R2ing. So we're now looking for those slightly more advanced on mechanics where you call the Forge God and then flash closer to it, so you get like a surprise knock-up essentially. Again, nothing that players won't have seen before, but it's something that can catch them off guard if they're not expecting it.
Wendell gets a hook coming through. Seneca able to battle dance himself away. Could have been dangerous with Nita level 7, has access to the killer instinct, but Nord once again, they take down that Drake, they move the pressure towards the top side of the Rift, looking for an angle potentially towards Herald, but Verdant are here as well and able to match.
Top prio is just always in favour of Nord. So catch cost will just have first move on any given timer. And you know, these two AD carries likely to be able to make their way up to the top side at about the same amount of time. Hido can use the E along the dragon wall to get a lot of distance down. Stealth from Gooby, going to be able to get him a bit more movement speed moving up through this top side. So Nord start up that Rift Herald. It's a slight advantage for Hido.
Gooby opening up with a spray and pray, and Hido just dashes straight over the wall. Probably recognise the Nord AD carry could do that. Maybe setting up for a roam, maybe setting up for a dive as Taxon moves over, but Zeri smells out something fishy and backs away from the play, and actually Nord might be able to get something off this.
No, I don't think that they will.
Okay.
They could have done.
They could have done. They didn't. I'm just blasting you apparently for no reason, my bad.
At this point in the game, right, the next big objective is going to be that Drake in 2 minutes time. You have Azir getting good prio on towards midsection, but the all-in potential is always going to be there from the Kai'Sa. She's on level 8, she's about to be on level 9, she's about to hit a really huge spike coming back into lane with static shiv. If any play is allowed to be made in the midsection, it's going to go in Verdant's favour. Normally we talk about how Verdant, they don't necessarily have the burst like in game 1 to do something in these skirmishes, but now they are the team with all of the burst. Didn't auto to interrupt? Okay, interesting. Didn't auto to interrupt there, but the TP is going to be burned regardless. But all the burst is on the side of Verdant. Even if they come in late on these skirmishes, as long as Maokai or not buys
Seneca
time...
quickness into the grand entrance, burst onto Gooby! Twitch flashing away, but
Nice
Hido's
Hido.
gonna follow him. That is absolutely ruthless.
Exactly what you want to see, right? Just finding a Twitch, picks him off. Very nice execution from Seneca. Hido, merciless in his approach as well. Flashes forward, ghost in under the turret, takes down the Twitch to finish him off. Exactly what you want to be seeing, and if you can delay this Twitch's scaling, stop him from being able to outrange you as an AD carry, that's exactly what we're after. Hido going to be able to finish that cull, go back to base, and be back out on the map in time for that dragon. Instead, decided that he wants to grab some plates, doesn't need that advantage heading into a neutral objective fight. Just everybody making sure that Hido's safe, keep the carry alive, and I mean, it worked in the last 2 games, no reason to change it up now.
Like, gonna fall down, resets, gonna be taken now by Nord, so that will give an opportunity to move towards Dragon Pit if they so desire.
I mean, I can think of a few people who don't want to be seeing this situation right now, and it is kind of immense that all of the plays have been coming out of the side of Nord when you have so much CC and potential coming out on the side of Taxa and Wendell here with that Nautilus and with that Maokai, but they haven't been able to find it. They seem fundamentally unused to having to play this aggressively this early. Luckily though, this Drake will be theirs basically uncontested.
This was a choice from Nord. I respect them for not overplaying their hand, but they could have set themselves up for this dragon had they not stuck around for an extra plate onto Hido. Going back to base, found himself a Cloak of Agility. Not sure that that's the big spike that you're after to, you know, really secure yourself an early game advantage. I think they could have probably just headed back to base 1 plate earlier, got themselves back out onto the Drake and found a contest to have really tried to snowball this game. Obviously, if they recognise that Knight is too much of a threat, then that's you know, their prerogative, and they've made that conscious effort as well.
I love this prioritization from Nord. They recognise that this Twitch could be an issue for the Zeri, and Indecision has made a few visits to this lane to ensure that that doesn't end up being the case. And so we've got Hido on the Zeri, already with that Kraken Slayer, Mythic up on Gooby, up in CS, up in kills, and Nord up in what could be the last game of this series.
Ashkos is well up on this top side, quietly CSing himself, quite the advantage. He's been able to take down a plate as well versus Nilla. Has almost finished off all the stacks of his feast that he's going to need to before he needs to move into team fighting and securing objectives with the squad. 5 out of 6 on those feast stacks at the minute. Those unaware of Cho'Gath mechanics, you only get 6 stacks on minions before you need to start stacking on neutral objectives and champions, and of course those are theoretically indefinite.
Oh, Flash with the Magnet Storm onto the bot lane of Verdant. It's the same play executed by Nord, and the results... Oh, it looks even better. Wendell escaping with a slither of HP, but it's another death for Gooby, and this is going to be first half for Nord.
I mean, this is an absolute disaster, to be honest. Like, Verdant, they're the guys who wanted to be opening up on bot lane. They're the guys who theoretically had the safe lane on bot side, but, you know, if I'm natives right now, I'm thinking, okay, we're probably facing Nord. I'm not letting Seneca get this Rakan. He's able to open up far too many plays. He's able to find far too much access. And if then Boxnay is sat there saying, well, he's all going to find that against me, slap him down, because you don't want a guy like Seneca on something this comfortable for him. He's having so much success this game, this series, not just in mid now, but also in setting up plays on bot lane. And honestly, that's what happened in the first game as well. Level 1, level 3, that first recall, they decided not to take it. They decided to make a hardcore play to kill that Varus, and that's honestly what began this snowball that's potentially leading to a 3-0 that only Rudude could have predicted.
And Hitprain as well. I took a quick check, so shout out Hitprain for also predicting the 3-0, as Seneca's going to need to dash to Hido here to get over that wall. Not going to be too much of a concern. I also do want to give a shout out to Indecision, because he also has effectively become a second support down on that bot side. Hadn't cleared any of his top camps for about 2-3 minutes or so. Just spent all of his time focusing that bot lane. And, sometimes you'll think, is that worthwhile? I've sacrificed quite a lot for this attempted stopping of the Twitch. And unequivocally, we can say, yes, this has been more than worthwhile. Indecision's lack of farming for a little bit of time. He's down 40 CS, but the payoff has been way bigger.
Well, one of our top laners is split pushing in this game, and it's Kashkos here on the Cho'Gath with the Demolish. Obviously, you can deal a fair bit of damage to these inner towers if left unattended. Still has that teleport. Should Nord find themselves in a fight? Wendell missing with a hook, so he's going to have that on cooldown for a little bit. Does look like Verdant were able to take away that Herald uncontested.
But now they're going to have to take their resets and look at top lane. Chance that Oman can maybe start to push in and take that turret down as well. You can see Indecision and Seneca both hovering. The two-man band of the supportive cast for Nord have been very scary when they've been able to move out on the map together. Oman, if he just gets this, need to see Seneca hold that recall just a little bit to ensure the safety, but again, Nord finding wins across the map. Yes, that Herald falls, but are they going to be able to get a turret with that Herald? I honestly don't know.
Especially the resets are happening like this. Right now is when you have the window with Nord on reset to do something with that Herald on towards mid. But instead, Twitch is on recall here. You can't do anything with that. Kaiser's hard shoved in on top side. You can't do anything with that. There is no opening, and now Taxa, he's entering enemy jungle despite Twitch only just arriving on mid lane. They're just not set up or prepared yet for this, and if they try to drop the Herald here for a Drake, that Herald's not going to have the impact you want. You needed this to take towers. At this point, if I'm Verdant, I'm thinking, okay, they don't get soul point yet, right? We have 10 minutes to work with. Let's play away from this Drake. Let's drop the Herald to try to get tempo on the map back. And if we have tempo on the map, we can set up an all-in that we could potentially win. Luckily, they have a better team fight comp than they have done for the entirety of the series. So even if they're going to do things this suboptimally, they may still be able to get something from it in a full-on fight.
Oh, going down on Kashkos. Indecision going forward. Seneca going to be here as well. First killer fight going down onto end. A massive engagement. Flashback away from Nita. Overextension from Omen. And he's taken down by the Kaiser. Low HP buzz for Indecision. But it's Verdant who are down a man in their fight. Both their bot laners off the board.
In case it wasn't evident enough here, the fact that Hido got given 3 kills early on, he's just able to free fire DPS and he absolutely tears Verdant apart. Worth mentioning that Knight is able to deal DPS as well. His flash was instrumental in keeping himself alive, managed to get away from the shuffle. There's a TP in here from Miller. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. They're going to look to contest, but with no Ornhorn.
Kashkos still has the ult, so he can take away this dragon. Oh! No! Tax is going to steal it, pays for it with his life. This is a 4v2 now for Verdant. Teleport going to come through from Nord as well, opting into the fight. Yes, you steal away the Drake. Yes, you deny the soul point, but you're still going to play some blood for it.
And that is not worth. They did not want the Drake. They wanted control of the game back. They could have done that, but instead, they do a fight in mid lane. Yubi gets caught with flash still up. Just absolutely obliterated. You no longer have the damage and the advantage of the switch that you wanted. And they go for that Drake. And yes, death and taxes, the usual play. But unfortunately, it turned into a death on Naito, your last remaining potential carry as well for an Ocean Drake. That's not worth it. You're now just extending a game where you're still not in control. I think all of the tools were burned incorrectly there. This should have just been Herald top play, ram that down in towards tier 2, get a better reset off while the enemy's doing Drake, and be in a better position for Drake 3.
The issue is, this was Nord playing a little bit slow. I don't really feel like slow is the right word in the early game, but it was a lot less kill oriented. They were just moving around the map, being in better positions than Verdant. And so the idea that this is a series that Nord have just out-mechanicked Verdant, maybe not true, but they are still damn good with their hands.
And just the slightest sense of desperation there from Wendell. Hido still has flash, still has E, and now an engage potentially from Seneca.
Oh, Hook going down onto the rail in the front line. Seneca's quickness is timed out, so Nords won't bite off more than they can chew. They've burnt one ult to try and get the engage off, but Taxa had to respond with a Nature's Grasp.
I'm actually in favour of how the side lanes are set up for Verdant at the minute. Putting Kai'Sa versus a tank, generally speaking, as long as Kachkos can't all in, Naita should be fine to try and trade back and at the very least hold the waves where Nilla has certainly been struggling in that 1 versus 1 versus the Cho'Gath so far. So keeping the lane matchups like this, maybe a little bit more favourable for Verdant for the time being. Kai'Sa wave clear doesn't give Kachkos access to those demolish procs all that easily.
And for Verdant, you came in knowing that you needed to win this game. The early game was a little bit more slow paced, but fundamentally it's 20 minutes and you are still down. 4,000 gold, not the most catastrophic of advantages they've had to overcome in this series, but still Nord favoured. What's the angle? How do Verdant make it back into this series and keep the reverse sweep dream alive?
It's giving stall is the only real way. The concern for Nord being that Twitch Kai'Sa in the late game are just fiends. They do a lot of damage, but you know the response is that also Nord have got Azir, they've got Zeri, two champions that also do their own fair whack of damage as well. I think that both of these two teams, generally speaking, fairly similar in terms of how they want to approach these fights. They've got Deathball, we've got 3 frontline / engage champions on either side. You've got 2 DPS carries. It's who can get access to those carries and who can't that is going to end up being the defining factor of these games. And when you look at the ease of execution, you've got a Rel who can easily jump in there with a follow-up from Rakan, and Seneca's ability to find these flanks in the entire series has proven to be good enough to find fights. So I think that Seneca just gets the edge there.
I tell you what, when you've got 2 comps that want to do broadly the same thing, it feels like when you do fall to that disadvantage, it's even more horrible.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes to this particular kind of situation here, one where you've come into this game with a less than optimal draft and all of your advantages have happened on the lane that theoretically has the least options in the opening phase, I mean, as Nord, you must be feeling on top of the world off of this. The Verdant native series was extremely close. Verdant were match point up on that series at one point. You must feel like you could potentially have a championship team. After a split, where as an organization, you really cashed out, you went all in on the big, heavy-hitting names and the heavy-hitting lineup like that, and you got a lot of SEO from that, but you didn't get the trophies, didn't even get an EMEA spot. Now, it looks like you can maybe run away with the NLC spot, run away with the EMEA slot. And all for this. This is such an insane turnaround. It's even more impressive than the Verdant story from last year in many ways.
Edo has never played a split of competitive League of Legends, and he is one Nexus kill away from going to EMEA Masters. What a story for this guy. For hopefully the first chapter in many for a player that has shown incredible promise across the NLC, has got 3 pentakills already. I'm sure he'll be hoping there's 1 or 2 more in his back pocket before this split is over. Verdant going to be trading, trying to get a little bit more gold on Nita, who has been consistent throughout the split, but he needs to be exceptional in the next few minutes.
Oh,
Indecision dives under the tower. Omen DPSing on the side, but Verdant are actually able to get the better end of things at the start of the play. On the run, double TP, Hido flashing away, but it's still going to get hit by the call of the Forge God Nile, diving under the tower. Seneca going to be able to knock him up, and they've gone too far forward. Verdant get caught with their hands in a cookie jar. Catch Cost slaps them down. 2 kills in that fight. Mid lane tower going to be theirs as well. And options running out for Verdant. Diving forward onto Gooby, miss on the shuffle. Twitch can fire out the damage. Seneca is going to be able to get into the backline, shielding Omen to keep him alive. Blinking health bars for the Nord mid laner, but he is going to be A-okay.
A series of overdives there. We see Indecision go onto Gooby with flash available. Finally, we get to see Gooby use that flash to get out to safety. And then, Nord in response, Nilla goes too far forward. Wendell has to pay the price as well. It's a tier 1 turret, plus 2 kills for 1, all in favour of Nord. And again, even though it was a play that Nord engaged, one that, honestly, they've kind of fumbled, Verdant, unfortunately, turn it back around and give Nord the advantage.
A lot of things there definitely just weren't it. They're too desperate to start fights. It feels like a similar scenario to when Nord were getting desperate about fights in the last game, except Verdant are in such a losing position that they can't make the fight even in the way that Nord was able to do so before. This just hasn't been Verdant's series. They have been outpaced by Nord at every single point. They did not adapt to the stuff that Nord showed when they played Ruddy, and they have been summarily punished for it. Nord have been able to play their game out in every single one of this best of 5 series, and they're getting so rewarded for it, and this Catch Coast guy is getting a little bit huge right now.
Pretty chonky on the Cho'Gath. Baron's going to be started up, but Nord opt in for the turn. Turn onto Nilla is necessarily where you want to be placing your damage, but they recognize that and they back away. This is going to give mid lane priority over to Gooby. Hido can skate over the wall, but the tower falls regardless.
Yeah, and I like that Nord are also respecting, okay, we don't see Twitch. If we don't see Twitch, we're not going for that all-out engage. They've got Nita to take care of. They've also got this Twitch, who's a more consistent DPS threat. The Kai's definitely very burst-oriented at the minute with this very heavy AP build working toward that Void Staff. That Sun Disc going down in the mid lane suggests they want to make a very heavy play for the next couple of minutes. That Sun Disc won't last long, but if they can control this top side, sets them up nicely to look around the Baron, or at the very least take a fight.
Going for a flank onto Wendell, as it has been so many times before in this series, and the Nautilus will burn down like he has done so many times before. Catch Cost is going to be able to pick him up. Verdant not able to respond.
Now they just turn to the Baron. 27 seconds on Wendell. They've still got a Feast available. So that's about a 2,000 smite. With the smite plus Feast, you're looking at a little bit higher, in fact. Ashkosh just warding them off for the time being, but as soon as this gets low, they can either turn or go for the Baron itself.
Seneca with the quickness. Tax actually going to be the target of Hido. Maokai flashing away, Call the Forge God. Gooby opening up as well. Not quite able to connect with enough damage to bring the members of Nord low. Hido still full HP, but it's enough for Omen to back away. They don't want to overcommit to the Baron. They don't want to throw away the lead that they've built.
I'd like to see them commit to the Baron there. They've built the cheat card to tax her in. They've bought Feast with them. As long as you just coordinate, you can say 2,000. It's you know, very conservative as a Smite Feast combo. But about 2k HP, you both press your button. You try and make that window for Taxer as small as possible. It's generally impossible to try and outsmite a Cho'Gath plus Smite, and it got down to about 6k HP, plus with Zeri and Azir. They're absolutely melting it. They turned for a fight that they weren't able to find, and they didn't really get any summoner spells for it. The Taxer Flash may well be important as they relook, but like you said, Middlecott, playing safe, playing reserve, not willing to give over this lead, and now with Taxa not having flash and getting into this pit, just became 10 times harder.
Alternative game plan. Just eat Taxa.
True.
Seems like a smart idea. Nitro's going to be TPing into
Taxa
this,
can't
but
get in.
it's caught out on the side. Baron to Nord, and a kill on the enemy top laner as well. Verdant backing away. That's a teleport into the middle of the fight in the mid lane. And Nord are going to be able to make it work. Wendell pulls himself away with the hook, but gets shuffled back by Omen. Nita not really being played onto too much, but now is isolated. Gets one before he falls into the grave. Gooby kiting with the burst fires on the Twitch, but he's going to get shut down. Knocked up over the wall. Seneca takes him out. That's 4 dead on the side of Verdant with the Baron buff. How much can Nord get?
Inhib, at the very least, Nord, they may well look to put themselves to EMEA Masters. They've got 30-second death timers on both of the carries.
Wow, this doesn't feel like a 28-minute game either. This feels like it was a 20-minute stomp. There was no real point where Nord were at risk of losing control of the map, of losing control of the game. There was no real point in this series where they were risking losing control of the game, even during those extra plays. And it looks like they're going to cement themselves as... they're still going to do it.
Quite yet.
Why
still
doesn't
a possibility,
Catchcos,
but Catchcos
the
is going to get
largest of the
focused
friends,
down
not
at the end.
eat the other 4?
Not quite yet. The funeral pyre delayed on the side of Verdant as Nord will retreat back to the Drake, but very much feels like a formality at this point. Mid lane inhib down, one of the Nexus towers to boot, Soul Point in their pocket. Nord can taste that spot at EMEA Masters. They can taste that spot in the final.
Again, a team that blew up their roster from spring to summer. Veteran presence in the top side. Nord released a video with Catchcos giving communication, acting as that veteran from the top lane. Has experience in the LFL Division 1. Came to the NLC with a bunch of players, 2 rookies down on that bot side, 2 mid-jungle duo who've bounced around teams, not had a great amount of success. Together, they formed a composition of players that are looking to take down our former EMEA Masters representatives, send themselves to the international tournament and prove that they've got what it is the NLC can offer.
It has to be said, these 2 carries are into double point and clicks and double sort of dive, but both champions who can match them at any point. They are thriving nonetheless, because as a team, Nord have just been much more on point on these strategic plays, on these map movements, on getting these groupings, on choosing these fights than Verdant have. They're feeling so confident and making these decisions at a rate that their more veteran opponents are not able to do so. This is a team that has developed as 5 and is showing the rewards of taking such an approach at these semi-finals.
Verdant, it feels like they've got one chance to save this game, and that is emphatically not it. Wendell goes in for the hook, but it's not someone that you want to be locking down. The Nautilus dies, and the engage options from Verdant slipping away. Gooby still going to be able to fire out Nita 2, level 16. You need to respect this Kai'Sa, and Nord, again, repulsed for the time being, and with the Baron falling away, it's going to be difficult to secure anything off this push. Wendell still down at Nita, going to get knocked into the air. Flash swap for Catchcos! Chops him, but it's not enough to kill him. Omen with a 2-person shuffle. Gooby dead, and this is going to be it. Taxa falls into his grave, and Nord chase forward into the base. A double kill for Hido, and Nita will offer no resistance at all. A respawn comes through for Wendell, but there's nothing he can do. Nord set up a date with destiny in the NLC final. They take down Verdant in 3 games and send themselves all the way to the last match of the split.
I'm sorry guys, but due to the writer's strike, we did